From people in my congregation at First Presbyterian Church of St. Louis, I have also learned a lot about preaching. Some of the most significant opportunities for me for preaching in that setting were when I involved people from the congregation in the preparation of sermons. I conducted a series of roundtable pulpits. This was an idea that came to me through John McClure, the preaching professor from Louisville Seminary, in a book he wrote called The Roundtable Pulpit. I gathered together people from the congregation. Some were members, some not. A diverse group of people from age 22 to 75. And asked them to reflect with me on the lectionary passages for a given week, for a series of 4 weeks. I invited their reflections and responses to what they saw and heard in these stories. And then I took their thinking and their reflections and used those as fodder for the preparation of my sermon. They then were part of the gathered community that heard that sermon, and often they listened much more closely to the sermons around passages that they had participated in this conversation about than others in the past. It also gave them some insight into the challenges and opportunities of the preparation of sermons. Then we would gather again the following week and begin with a reflection on the sermon that they had heard on Sunday that had been based to a certain degree, at least, on their reflections. And it meant that the sermon took on a community life. It wasn't just words from me being given at one point in time to a congregation and that was the end of it. It made the sermon into an ongoing experience of at least a segment of the community. And it gave them some ownership in what was happening in worship. I gathered a group of people together another time to discuss and explore faith in the workplace. When we were done with this workshop, I phoned up a few of the participants and invited them to do a 3 to 5 minute reflection in a worship service on their own work and how they encountered faith or felt the challenge to live their faith in the workplace. This service that was created out of those reflections, which 3 or 4 individuals, including a police officer, a stay-at-home mom, and a computer technology person, took up my invitation and shared in this worship experience. This service was one of the most powerful services I participated in during my 10 years at First Presbyterian Church. And it was very moving to members of the congregation and empowering to them as they reflected on faith in their own places of work. I see sermons as beginnings, not endings. I see them as an invitation to an encounter with a living God, a living community, and the narratives that have formed the lives of faith of so many people throughout our history. I have always appreciated the opportunity to prepare sermons in the context of pastoral work broadly. I see preaching as pastoral care. I see session meetings as opportunities to hear the gospel. I see worship as an opportunity to grow spiritually. They are all integrated in my mind, all these tasks of ministry. And I enjoy looking for ways that they interconnect with one another, that what is said in worship finds its way into Bible study, finds its way into the hospital bed of the church member who is recovering from surgery, that finds its way into a deacon's meeting, that finds its way back into an experience of worship. I feel greatly honored and privileged to be engaged in this effort of proclaiming the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ in a local community.